Let us begin by diagnosing your symptoms. The confusion, that familiar dizzying sensation in your mind as you try to use logic to decode a seemingly illogical world. You try to fix problems. You map out rational paths. You present solutions. And all your efforts only make things worse, do they not? You feel as if you are speaking an entirely different language, that if you could just find the right words, the right phrasing, she would finally understand. Listen closely. This is not a failure to communicate, it is a failure to comprehend. A catastrophic failure to comprehend the root operating system that built her. A failure for which you are paying a heavy price. The answer has been there for 2,000 years, buried under the romantic lies you are programmed to believe. Aristotle stated it coldly. The female is, as it were, a mutilated male. You hear that, and your first reflex is discomfort, defensiveness. That is your programming. But it is not an insult. It is a clinical diagnosis, an uncompromising biological truth. It means she operates on a completely different set of rules. Your operating system is built on creation, ideals, and abstract logic. Her operating system is built on adaptation, reaction, and ruthless survival optimization. And here is your fundamental error. The error that has cost you your peace, your self-respect, and perhaps your very soul. You assume you are in a romantic relationship. Wrong. You are in a constant, silent, biological resource negotiation, an exchange of power, attention, and security that takes place every single second, and you do not even know you are sitting at the negotiating table. So you waste your life trying to understand her, trying to decode her moods, her words, her silences, as if she were a complex machine for which you will one day find the instruction manual. But here is the answer you never dared to seek. The answer is not in understanding her. The answer is in understanding the system that built her. The cold, amoral, brutally efficient system of nature. You do not need to read her mind, you need to read the blueprint. Now, let us dissect the first rule, the most important rule, the one whose ignorance has turned you into prey in your own love story. This rule is as simple as it is brutal. Men operate on ideals, women operate on advantage. Let us start with your blind spot, that massive black hole in the center of your heart that you keep trying to fill with another person, with her validation. Let us be brutally honest with each other for once in your life. Look at this truth without blinking. You do not love her. You love the idea of her. You love the fairy tale you are desperate to believe, the story of a woman who will come and extinguish the fire of chaos in your mind. You are not looking for a partner. You are looking for a savior. You need her to be the angel, the healer, the purity, because you cannot stand your own emptiness, your own chaos, your own imperfection. Her presence is not an addition to your life. It is the painkiller for your existence. She is not the answer for you. She is the escape from yourself. And this is her advantage. This is where her instinct shines with terrifying brilliance. She does not have to be that illusion. She just has to perform it well enough. Her instinct, honed over millennia of survival, can smell your yearning from miles away. It sees the hole in your soul and recognizes it as a perfect doorway, an entry point. She does not need to deceive you with complex lies. She just needs to be a mirror, a perfectly polished mirror, reflecting exactly what you are desperate to see. She reflects your idealization back at you, and you, in a haze of self-congratulation, think you have found a soulmate, and you, like a moth, fly straight into that flame, not because of her light, but because of your own darkness reflected in her eyes. you do not love the person she is. You kneel before the reflection of yourself. Do you really think that was fate? Do you think finding someone who understands you so well was a random coincidence of the universe? No. It was a perfect interlocking of your need and her strategy, of your weakness and her weapon. And underneath it all, beneath every smile, every touch, every sweet whisper, a core operating system is running, a cold, efficient, and emotionless algorithm. Biologists call it hypergamy. It is the never-sleeping instinct to seek, screen, and secure the highest value mate possible. Value here is not just money. It is status. It is confidence. It is emotional stability. It is power. It is direction. Your love is an emotional storm. Her love is often an investment strategy. And here is what no one dares to tell you. Her love is a conditional investment. Picture it like this. You are a stock on the biological stock market. Your value is not measured in dollars, but in your groundedness. Her attention, respect, and affection are investment capital. When your stock price rises, when you demonstrate confidence, decisiveness, when you have a purpose and pursue it relentlessly, when your boundaries are solid as steel, she will invest more. You will receive more warmth, more admiration, more intimacy. She is doubling down on a rising asset. She wants a piece of your success. But what happens when your stock plummets? When you act needy, insecure, jealous? When you abandon your purpose to revolve around her like a satellite? When your groundedness turns into desperate dependency? When you constantly seek validation from her? She will begin to divest. It does not happen all at once. It happens silently, like a slow leak. One less text message, a more forced smile, a subtle distance you can feel in your bones but cannot prove with words. She does not do it out of cruelty. She is not sitting there consciously plotting. It is just instinct. It is biological portfolio management. No smart investor holds a losing stock. Her instinct is screaming that this asset is depreciating and it is time to look for a better investment opportunity. So, while you think you are building a love story based on sacrifice and devotion, the reality is you are being constantly evaluated, your performance is being analyzed, and your value is being tracked on an invisible chart that only her instinct can read. That is not love, it is an audit, and most of you are failing. Let us move to rule number 2. And this is where most men completely fall apart, where they are systematically disarmed without even knowing it. This is the arena where your logic dies a painful death. Rule number 2. Softness is a tool for calibration, not a state of being. You have been programmed from birth to believe that softness is purity, that vulnerability is a sign of authenticity, and that is precisely how your defenses are neutralized. Now, let us decode her arsenal, piece by piece, under the cold light of truth. That softness you worship? It is not weakness. It is a chemical solvent designed to dissolve your steel-like defenses and boundaries, so you open the gates for infiltration. Those tears? They are not always pain. They are tactical flares launched to blind your logic and trigger your instinct for mindless protection. When you see them, your operating system overloads, and you rush to concede anything just to extinguish them, just to restore order. You think you are the hero, but you are just a puppet reacting. That silence? It is not empty. It is a precisely calibrated pressure, a psychological weapon used to create a vacuum, forcing you to fill it with your own confessions, explanations, and ultimately, your surrender. And do you really think those covert tests are random? The last-minute unreasonable request, the criticism wrapped in the guise of caring, I just want what is best for you. The sudden change of plans just to see if you will bend to her will. They are not whims, they are probes. Sensors sent out to test your frame, to measure the limits of your patience, to see how weak your goalposts are. Every time you fail, every time you concede to keep the peace, she registers a weakness. Her control increases by another degree. Your stock value drops another point on her invisible board. It is not complexity, it is a calculated campaign. And when you open up, when you do what every psychology magazine tells you to do, when you share your deepest fears and secrets, you think you are building intimacy. A fatal mistake. You are providing data. She's not listening to your story. She is mapping your psyche. She is building a detailed topographical chart of your insecurities, pinpointing the exact location of every crack, every fault line in your self-esteem. Every confession is not a step closer together. It is a new data point entered into the system, a new coordinate marked on the attack map. And this is the ultimate weapon, the one kept in the safe of her instinct, the one that turns her from a partner into a prosecutor in the blink of an eye. The emotional ledger. Imagine it. An invisible ledger, encrypted with emotion, that records every mistake, every moment of weakness, every foolish word you have ever said. And unlike you, who tends to forget and forgive, she never forgets. That ledger is never wiped clean. The entries never expire. It is stored, cross-indexed, and kept for use as leverage in future conflicts. That is why. That is why an argument about who is going to do the dishes can, in a matter of seconds, suddenly become a trial about your character, using evidence from 3 years ago, and you stand there stunned, unable to comprehend how you got here. But she knows. She always knows. Because she is not arguing. She is accessing the archives. She's opening the right page in the ledger. She is the prosecutor, the lawyer, and the judge, reading verbatim an indictment of sins you forgot you even committed, using the very vulnerability you gave her to convict you. You think you are in a relationship. No, you are in an intelligence operation, and you are the target. Every action you take is being monitored, every word you speak is being recorded, and every weakness you have will be used against you. And now, we arrive at rule number 3. This is no longer about tactics. This is the end game. This is the final architecture of imprisonment. Rule number 3. Dependency is engineered, not organic. The ultimate goal of this system was never love. The ultimate goal is to become indispensable. She does not need to control your actions if she can control your thoughts. She does not need to chain you up if she can become your prison. The goal is to install herself as the emotional operating system in your mind. She becomes the voice you hear before you make a decision. She becomes the comfort you seek after every failure. She becomes the standard by which you measure your worth. She becomes the sole provider of your validation, your security, and your meaning. And once that operating system is installed, she no longer needs to give orders. You will obey automatically. That is not love. It is a hostile takeover of your consciousness, and this is what it feels like to live under that operating system. You are no longer on your own path. You are in orbit. You are in orbit around her moods, a miniature solar system where she is the hot sun and you are the icy planet, desperate for warmth. You are in orbit around her needs, which always take precedence over your goals and dreams. You are in orbit around her approval, which is granted and withdrawn with calculation to keep you in a perpetual state of insecurity. You are in orbit around her silence, a heavy void that you try to fill with your own repentance. You think it is harmony, You call it closeness, but it is not. It is astronomical imprisonment. You have mistaken gravity for grace. You are not a partner in a dance. You are a satellite locked in a predetermined trajectory. And here's the masterpiece of that psychological engineering, the mechanism that turned you from a sovereign man into a follower. It is the creation of a cult of one. The relationship slowly transforms into a cult, where she is the charismatic leader and you are the sole disciple. Slowly, methodically, she begins to sever your emotional support lines to the outside world. The friends she does not like, the family she feels is judgmental, the hobbies that take your time away from her. With every severed cord, your dependency on her grows exponentially. She does not do this openly. She does it through sighs, subtle dissatisfactions, emotionally charged suggestions. Until one day, you look around and realize your world has shrunk to a population of one. And when she is your only source of validation, she has total control. When she is the only sun in your sky, she controls the light. She controls the warmth, and she controls the darkness. She does not own your house or your car. She owns the source code to your self-esteem. And then, the inevitable happens. The system self-destructs. When your usefulness expires. When you no longer provide enough emotional value, security, or status that her instinct demands. Or more simply, when a better stock, a more attractive investment opportunity, appears on the market. And then you say, she changed. You say, she does not love me anymore. Wake up. She did not change. She simply stopped performing. The role ended because the play no longer served her purpose. It was not a broken heart. It was a business decision executed by instinct. And the most terrifying proof of this is not her anger, not the accusations. It is her absolute ice-cold indifference at the end. That indifference is the final confirmation that, to her operating system, you were never truly a person. You were an asset. And now, you are simply an asset being liquidated. And here is the final answer. The answer you have been searching for in your confusion, but not the one you wanted. Accept this diagnosis. Aristotle's answer is not a map for you to fix her. It is not a toolkit for you to win arguments. It is a cracked mirror held up to your face for you to realize you have been playing the wrong game all along. Stop trying to win at a game whose rules you do not understand. Stop trying to be the best player and start understanding the nature of the field itself. Because the only path to liberation is not in understanding, it is in destruction. You cannot save your weak, validation-seeking self. You cannot negotiate with it. You cannot reform it. You must destroy it. The ego that begs for love, the ego that trades respect for attention, the ego that is willing to bend its own spine just for a moment of false peace. Let it die. Let it burn to ashes in the fire of this brutal truth. Because only from those ashes can not a better version, but an entirely new entity arise. A sovereign man. And this is the final shift you must make. The shift from player to architect. A player tries to win at a game created by others. He learns the rules, he reacts, he is confined by the field, he is always reactive. An architect is different. He looks at the rules, not to obey them, but to understand their structure. He does not play the game. He builds his own reality, a fortress of self-sovereignty where those rules no longer apply to him. Do not try to understand women to please them. That is the path of the slave. Understand the nature of the system to free yourself from it, because the truth will set you free. But first, it will burn you to the ground. Aristotle's answer is not a key. It is a fire. It will burn away every illusion. It will burn away every fairy tale. It will burn away every ounce of naivety you have clung to like a life raft. It will burn you down to the bone until nothing is left but the naked truth. And in that moment, after the fire has died, you will stand for the first time on the solid ground of reality, alone, empty, but finally free and whole.